Hi, this is Dee, and you're listening to my podcast, Let Me Clear My Throat. Tonight's podcast, we're going to talk and spin off a little bit more talking about suicide. In my last episode, we talked about suicide, and it was called Help Me, Don't Mock Me, I'm Suicidal. This podcast, we're going to talk about, after a suicide attempt, a guide for family and friends. And also, of course, you know, that is fallen victim to being suicidal. There's some helpful information on here and some resources. And we're probably going to have to do this in sections. This is actually a pretty decent amount here to go through. I have not went through it yet, but we are going to go through it together. So, and if you know me, I will venture off on my own comments as well. So, I have talked very candidly in my past podcasts, if I can get my mouth to work today, about me being a surviving suicidal victim and a surviving self-harm victim. So obviously this is a very delicate situation for all concerned, those that are listening and family members and anybody that it might trigger that is going through something. There is help out there. There are people that are trained and do care. 988 is the suicide prevention hotline. I do talk about that in every podcast that I do. They are trained professionals that are there. I believe you can call even anonymously. If I can talk tonight, I'm sorry. And they are there to help you. So anyway, we're going to get started. First, I want to go on and say it's. I got this off a Clinic Community Health Center. Clinic is K-L-I-N-I-K. Community Health Center. It's called After a Suicide Attempt, a Guide for Family and Friends. And my throat sounds very scratchy this evening. I'm sorry. Not that I've been talking too much or anything. So anyway, this comes from Clinic Community Health Center. And let me just skip the table of contents. We don't need to read that. It goes on with the introduction. At first it says, this guide is to help you when someone you care about has made a suicide attempt or demonstrated other suicidal behaviors. It provides information on what will happen at the hospital, your loved one's rights and your rights. An understanding of what is happening for someone struggling with thoughts of suicide, tips on how you can help and support someone who is struggling, ways to take care of yourself during this difficult time, and a list of resources and references. They do have a few lists of resources and references later on into this that we will go over. So suicidal behavior can be very distressing for both the person at risk and those who care about them. It is important to remember that people not only get through these experiences, but there are also other positive changes. Crisis often can lead to growth, increased self-understanding and awareness, and the discovery of new and more effective ways of coping. In the midst of the chaos, fear, and upheaval, compassion towards ourselves and those in distress gives us hope and builds resilience. Remember that there is help and you will get through this. You are not alone. This document is based on a handbook of the same name developed by Clinic Community Health Center for use in Manitoba, which I looked that up before I got on here. It's a province of Canada. Some of the descriptions as to what happens in hospitals contained within this document obviously will vary from region to region and hospital to hospital. So that is just an introduction of this book. And obviously, when somebody is going through something, you know, it's easier said than done to tell somebody to reach out and to get a hold of somebody and to tell somebody that, you know, hey, I'm suicidal or I'm having these thoughts. And I have known that some people don't so much as talk about it. Some people just internally have this nightmare in their well-being, in their soul, in their head. Their heart is heavy, and they feel that there is just no need to tell anybody, because sometimes they may feel that, and these are my words, sometimes they may feel that nobody cares anyway. And I've talked about this before in one of my other podcasts, so it's been a while, but I used to clean crime scenes for a living, and we did a lot of suicides. And this one in particular, I made a comment to one of my coworkers. It was very sad that he was a very thoughtful suicide victim. He had lived in, I want to say Georgia. He lived in another state. And obviously he was in Indiana, because I'm from Indiana. So, which we did surrounding states as well. But anyway, irrelevant. He was from another state. And he had moved up here. He got a rental car and rented an apartment. And he hadn't even unpacked his belongings yet. They were still in boxes. They were labeled. They were put in certain areas of his apartment. He had his will laid out. He had his insurance information laid out. He had all of his documentations, all his important papers laid out on the table. He had everything ready for whoever needed to find what needed to be found. And he had called the police, or 911, and told them that what he was going to do, and that the door was unlocked. They did not have to bust it down, and where they would find him. And that's exactly what happened. They found him on the floor in his living room by his couch. He had gotten a rental car in an apartment and moved up from, I believe it was Georgia. And the reason why he did so is because he had planned to kill himself the whole time. And he did not want his mother to be the one to find him. So he moved across state lines in a rental car, so it wasn't his own car, got an apartment, never unpacked because he wasn't planning on staying there, and killed himself. And that was very, very heartbreaking. I mean, obviously any suicide is, but he didn't want his mom to find him. He had wrote a letter, and this all was laying out on his table. And of course, with it being a gunshot wound, obviously the extensiveness of, debris and spatter and all that stuff, there's a lot to look for. So obviously him having everything laid out is pretty self-explanatory. But this is an example of how devastating it is for somebody to have to carry that much pain, that they need to get a rental car, come across state lines, rent an apartment, just so his mother would not walk in to find him gone. And she had no clue. So I just want to tell everybody that, obviously, if you are on the other end and you are the one that somebody comes to that is suicidal, just my opinion, and like I said, I'm a surviving suicidal victim, don't belittle their emotions. Don't mock them. Don't make fun of them. Try to just listen to them. Sometimes somebody just needs somebody to be there. They just need somebody to hear them out, somebody to make them feel like they're worth something, somebody to make them feel like their voice, their feelings, and their well-being, their existence matters. And I had talked about this on my last podcast. I have been suicidal my whole life, but it got very, very very deep a few years ago. And I went to somebody who, out of anybody in the world, I should have been able to go to. Hands down. And I told this person that I was suicidal. And I wanted to kill myself. Wanted to die. And they straight up looked at me and said, "Those are your feelings. That's stupid. Get over it." And I'm standing there looking at this person going, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" You know, to be point blank. And I just more or less kept it for myself. I try to reach out in different ways. And it wasn't because I wanted to die. I wanted the pain to stop. I hurt so bad. And I felt so alone. And nobody was going to miss me or care anyway. Because nobody even acknowledged or checked up on me. Or even... Well, I felt like nobody cared about my existence. And so it was to the point where I was just ready to take everybody out of their misery and just be gone. And there's a lot there that I did. I was writing things down on a piece of paper, you know, plans of how I wanted my funeral, what music to play. I was even, this isn't funny, but I was even making out a guest list on who I thought would come. And I would also then, sometimes when I get caught up in my emotions, I would say to myself, I'd probably be the only person there. That nobody probably would even come. Nobody would even notice I was gone. It wouldn't matter anyway. They probably would be happy that I was gone. So then I wouldn't be such, you know, all these things that they thought of me. And they didn't care to, you know, see how I was doing or even talk to me for that matter. I was just non-existent. And I would constantly just remove myself into, you know, my room and, you know, my house and my home or whatever you want to call it. And my tears were so soaked in my tears that, or my room, my walls were so soaked in my tears, it was drowning me. And nobody knew it. Nobody knew. And I thought to myself, you know, it would be forever until somebody found me, because nobody checks up on me. But I take care of my mom. My dad died a few years ago, so I take care of my mom. And I would say to myself, the only way that they would know I was gone is because I wouldn't be in there to take care of Mom. And she would get mad because I wasn't in there or whatever, not knowing the scenario. And that'd probably be the only reason and way, because otherwise nobody would know. And that really was crushing. And even though I would cry out, or I would try to express my feelings, or I would try to talk about my emotions and what I was going through, it either started into an argument with somebody, or I was just, you know, I don't want to hear it. Or, you know, just, I'm being dramatic, or, you know, whatever the case scenario would be. And I thought to myself, you know, I just don't understand what I ever did in my life to anybody to ever make me feel like I was better off and they were better off, the world was better off, if I didn't exist anymore. And I was looking up ways on rubbing alcohol, injecting it, see what it would do. A bunch of pills, you know, I put every single pill I could possibly find into a container. But the final and biggest moment, I guess you could say, is sitting in my bed, crying so hard. I don't even remember the day. It's all a blur. I remember bits and pieces of it, but I honestly don't remember a lot of it. And I remember sitting on my bed just crying. And I have this revolver, and I had it to my temple. I put it to my temple. And if I would have sneezed the wrong way, that would have been it. And for a while, I couldn't even remember what happened on what changed the moment for me. But then as time passed and I thought about it and talked about it more, it was my mom. She had called my phone and told me she needed me to come in because I was outside. And she needed me to come in, and I don't know what she wanted. Probably make her something to eat. I don't know what she wanted. I don't remember. And that changed my moment. That was the key factor, and that did it all. And I don't really remember a big chunk of my life after that. I do, though, know that there were certain moments in my life that I was able to, I don't even know how to explain it. Somewhere through the grace of God and whatever He put in my path, for the first time in my life, I don't want to kill myself. And I tried very, very hard to keep that emotion on the top of my heart. And I tried very hard to counteract and redirect all of my pain and my heartache into something positive. I have been through some tragedies in my life, and I always said, you know, there's something good in everything. Even on the most horrific, tragic moments in life, there's something good in it. And I know this for a fact. And for instance, my grandson died. He died on my birthday. And I spun out of control. I lost literally my whole life. I was homeless. I lost my home. Lost all my belongings. Lost my family. What I had. I lost myself. I became a self-harm victim. And it took me a long time to get to the point where I can actually breathe without that moment suffocating me. Because I was suffocating on my own breath. There was so much pain, I couldn't even breathe and get a breath of air to be able to find a way to cope and redirect my life, my well-being, my thoughts, anything. And I was drowning in pain. But something wonderful came out of my grandson dying. And I know that might sound silly to some people. But my grandson is the biggest hero to be such a little bitty person. He was 2.5 months old. And at the time, I was a scientist, and I did organs and tissue procurement and cryopreservation and stuff. And so organs and organ donation was very big, and still is very big with me. And my daughter donated my grandson's organs. There are 3 little girls that are alive walking this world right now because of him. One literally has his heart. I can honestly say there's a little girl in this world that's going to grow up to be a woman that is going to have my grandson's heart for the rest of her life. That is a miracle just in itself. And I know from experience that it is not easy to even try. To even try to take a breath, try to get out of bed, try to open your eyes, try to even try. I, at one point, made myself sleep for 5 days because I didn't want to do something I really didn't want to do. Because I couldn't handle it. And I would take my medication because I knew it made me sleepy. And I'd wake up and I'd take it and I'd go right back to sleep. I'd wake up, I'd take it, and I'd go right back to sleep. And finally my youngest daughter came in, she's like, "Mom, you gotta get up. You've been sleeping for days. I brought you something to eat." So even trying to try is a miracle in itself. Learning how to breathe through your anxiety and your pain. Finding coping mechanisms to get through the moment that you think is going to take forever, even though it's just a heartbeat, is a miracle. Finding somewhere to put your feelings and your emotions, because they are consuming you and you are drowning in your pain and you have nowhere to put your feelings. Finding somewhere to put your feelings is the biggest miracle of all. And literally life-saving. At least it was for me. I wish I knew that first. But I also believe in, we always, ask God to give us strength or we can't handle it, or, whatever it is. And it's not that He's going to just poof, you're strong. Sometimes in life, your life is what ends up making you strong. And everything I went through, and everything I've overcome, and everything I am trying so diligently to be and exist in this world, I have been able to be there for other people. I've been able to be here for my mom who's grieving my dad. I've been here for friends that have lost their mother or their friends or their children. I have been there for people I don't even know. That have had a waitress at Texas Roadhouse just sat down and started talking to me and found out that her daughter had overdosed about a week or two before Christmas. And we had a long conversation. We exchanged numbers, and even sitting here talking in your ear, even if it just saves one person, then that's a part of my purpose. You know, I joke around and I always say I'm a hoot, you know, because I'm funny and not just funny looking, but I like to make people laugh and smile and feel good. Because I know how much pain hurts. I know how heavy it gets. And if I can make somebody laugh or smile or feel good for just one moment, then that is one moment that they are not hurting. That is one moment that maybe they could take a breath and be able to breathe for the first time again in their whole life. They can actually take a breath and it not suffocate them. And those that don't understand that, count your blessings. And those that do, my heart goes out to you. Because even though you go through the motions and the feelings and the being a survivor, just because you didn't succeed doesn't mean that you're not at that emotion. Because if I would have just sneezed or coughed or anything, if somebody would have knocked on the door and startled me, that would have been all it took. Because I was there. And to this day, the only people that know that is whoever's ear I am in. Because I've never told anybody in person. That I remember. I don't recall. I know I haven't told any of my family in person. Or any of my friends. I have told my counselor. But it is one of the most indescribable emotion that I have ever endured in my life. And all the countless times I would put myself down, call myself names, belittle myself, pray to God to let me die. How bad is that? Pray to God and beg Him just to let you die. You didn't want to live. You hated life. You hated yourself. I would write on my hands, my arms, how worthless I was. Just different negative things. And I was 50 years old about. Almost 50. And I'd erase them in the morning, and at night I'd put them right back on. And one time I forgot to wipe them off. And my daughter's like, what's on your hand? I said, nothing. Nothing. And I covered my hand. And I went and wiped it off. You know, and then some people, I know this is not in the book. We probably want to get to the book, but that's okay. Because this is real life. I can read anything from a piece of paper. And not that it's not good information, but maybe I needed tonight just as much. I sit back and all the times that I've done all that negative to myself, I couldn't even see myself. I couldn't see myself past my tears, past my vision of my emotions and my pain. I couldn't see myself past everybody else standing in front of my reflection, reflecting their thoughts, opinions, and pain on me. And I was just soaking it up. And so when I would look at myself, with or without a mirror, I couldn't even see me. I was not only felt like I was invisible to the world, but I felt like I didn't even exist in my own life. I felt like my life was passing me by, and I was just trying to jump up there every once in a while to try to grab a hold of it, just to be a part of it. But then when I'd finally catch on, somebody would be there to push me right back down. Like I didn't belong there. I'm not good enough to be in my own life. But I take all that pain and all those moments. I count my blessings. I thank God every day and throughout the day for not abandoning me, but more so helping me to remember not to abandon myself. And I counteract all my pain with positive reinforcement. And I might say, you know, before I'd always say, man, I'm just so stupid. It's pathetically stupid. You know, or whatever negative I would say to me. And now I'm like, you're not stupid. You might have feel like you're stupid, but you're not stupid. You've done some naive things. You've done some things that, you know, you haven't made the right choices on. Or maybe you just didn't know, or whatever the case may be, but you're not stupid. You're a human being. You make mistakes. You don't need to be damned for your whole life because of whatever choice that you're trying to learn how to have a life in this world. Life didn't come with an instruction manual. There's not do's and don'ts and rights and wrongs, and if there are, they probably revised and refurbished and manipulated because of somebody's opinion or whatever. Doesn't make it so. Somebody's thoughts, opinions, and views of things may not even be my own. So why do I have to sit there and follow by their opinionated rule book when mine looks nothing like theirs? If all the books were the same, there wouldn't be libraries full of different creations. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a life of one that deserves to have a chance to be written. It deserves a chance for you to be the writer of your life. And if you make a mistake, maybe you didn't make a mistake. maybe you just taught yourself something. Why does it have to be negative? Look at it as a resource on how to deal or do or change or look or view or feel about something. And maybe that's a part of your answered prayer of, God, give me strength. You cannot be strong if you don't learn from weaknesses. But to also know, too, that being the strong one all the time is heavy. You could be the most tallest person in the world and feel so small from all the weight of pain that you carry. The sad thing about that is I'm already short. And I already have a step stool to get up in my bed. I don't know. But then I always say to myself, He never gives you more than you can handle. And I must have some very strong shoulders. Because I might get to the point where it pushes me down a little. And I've even fallen and tripped over my own feet. My own heart, my own mouth, my own well-being, my own shadow. But you can bet your ass I got back up. And being short, it doesn't take that long. But still nor here nor there. I got back up. And I have found ways, and I still continue to find ways to try to help me cope with my moments. There's no right or wrong way. Everybody's different. What might work for me might not work for you. But it doesn't hurt to try. Then again, yes it does. See, there's that fine line. Because sometimes that hurts more than anything, is just to try. When my dad passed away, I was in there with my mom. And in the beginning of it, I slept in bed with my mom because she wasn't used to being by herself. My mom is blind and she's bedridden. And she wasn't used to sleeping by herself, obviously. She'd been married to him forever. So I slept in there with my mom to try to help her through her nights, talk to her, keep her calm. Everything that I felt I had needed when I was going through everything that I went through that I didn't have. And it got to the point where one night she forgot he died. She was a little disoriented. She thought I was him, and she went to go reach over to give me a hug and stopped herself. Because then she remembered he was gone. And it was me. And I said, Mom, I'm going to sleep in the other room. That way you can get used to sleeping by yourself, but in a controlled environment. So I'm still in the house, just in the other room. I had to wing my mom so she can get used to sleeping alone. Something she hadn't done probably pretty much almost her whole life. And I told her, I said, you know, I'm going to tell you what I learned in my journey. And that's what I call it. You have to try. And if you can't try, just try to try. And sometimes you have to try to try to try. And if you can't do something, just say, like, if you're in bed and you open your eyes and you got up to go to the bathroom and came right back to bed, I applaud you. Because at least you tried to get through another day. You opened your eyes. Even if you go back to sleep, you tried. And I told her, you have to learn how to breathe. Normal breath, yes, please do breathe. Breathe through your anxiety, breathe through your emotion and your pain and your panic attacks. Find coping mechanisms to go through to calm yourself down in some way. I used to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, and it got to the point where that wasn't working for me. So I started saying my ABCs. I would say them in my head, or I would sing them out loud, or I would do them in sign language, or I'd do all three, or one and both of them, or whatever it was. It depends on how upset I was and how much I couldn't get my breath. And I would cry so hard sometimes, it literally would make me feel like I was going to be sick. And I would talk myself down, talk myself calm, reassure myself. I dedicated the positive side of me that I was trying so desperately to be a part of in my life, and put it center stage where I needed it the most. Believable. I had to trust myself that I had my best interests at heart so I could get through my moment. Because there was not going to be anybody to come save my day, come save my moment, to come have a magic wand to lift my pain off of me. I needed to find a way to survive my next breath. And it has worked for me. I talk to myself all the time. I do voice impersonations, and I'll put on a comedy skit to myself. And my mom the other day told me, she said, I'll be glad when you get your normal voice back. Because I just talk in all kinds of different voices and do impersonations and stuff. And I'm like, this is me. I mean, this is me. I'm a spawn from you. You held my umbilical cord, you know. But the third and most important thing that I wish I knew, like I said, I don't think, even if you know it, I don't think that it is as beneficial as learning it. Even though you know it, I guess, I mean, I'm telling you, that even though I'm telling you, doesn't mean that it's not going to be as effective for you until you learn it with your heart, your emotions, your well-being, your sanity. If that's possible. All due respect, I say that and I'm thinking of myself respectfully. Find somewhere to put your feelings. Somewhere positive to put your feelings. Take all your pain, all your heartache, everything that is drowning you, and put it somewhere positive. Don't drown it. It's already drowning. It's already sinking. And it's pulling you in with it. You need to save you. But if you don't find a place to put your feelings are going to find a place to put you. And you need to put it somewhere positive. Not self-medicating. Unless it's something positive. Positive reinforcement. Positive thoughts. Positive mindset. Calm mind. Calm body. Be a mentor. Talk to people. Volunteer somewhere. Write poetry. Write a journal. Write songs. Learn how to play music. Go places. Do things. Go on adventures. Do podcasts. That's something that I have. This is where I'm putting my feelings. This and other things. Crafting. Making things. Building stuff. Yard work. I know that sounds silly, but outside is good for you. And I say that because I hardly ever get to see outside. And I know right now that's not very worrisome because it's winter out, but it is. There were 2 summers in a row that I hardly even came out the door unless I was cutting grass. There would go weeks go by and I wouldn't even open that front door. There was a whole month and a half that went by. I hadn't even been to the post office to get the mail. Because depression is real. It's not just a word. It's not just something to say, oh, I'm depressed. And I'm not belittling anybody that says that, because it is an emotion. It's a very strong emotion. But it's not something to mock. It's not something to belittle. It's not something to judge somebody on. It's not something to tell somebody just to get over. Or reach out to me if you ever feel that way. And all due respect, it's not that simple. Because when you're in a different mindset, thinking rational of your to-go list, of your call list, is not always feasible. It's not always a reality. Because your mind is not safe. You are not safe in your own mind when you are feeling that level of emotion. That is when your pain drowns you, consumes you, engulfs you, throws you into the darkness of the deep abyss down below, where your own shadow stands above you. That is real. It don't need to be understood by other people. It needs to be acknowledged. It needs to be non-judged. Everybody always sits there and says, just pick a nationality or a cause or whatever. We'll just use, I don't know, clouds. Clouds matter. Clouds do matter. Clouds matter. Trees matter. Women matter. Sour Patch Kids matter. Just I'm just looking at it because I was looking at my Sour Patch Kids. No kids are harmed in the making of Sour Patch Kids that I know of. But it's something like that. You shouldn't have to have a nationality or a reason of something significantly different, if you will, to matter. You shouldn't have to go through the emotions of wanting to die to matter. All those people that you feel like are not going to miss you are going to be the very same ones that are going to be standing at your funeral crying for the loss of you, not understanding why they didn't see this, what they could have done different, what happened, why they wish you would have got help, they tried to help you, whatever the scenario may be. The world is a better place with you in it. Why? Because you're in it. You're not a hood ornament. You're not a light fixture. You're not a decoration on the wall. You're a human being. You have feelings, you have emotions, you have a life full of mistakes, you have a life full of accomplishments, you have a life full of uncertainties and scared and frustrated and anger and happiness and all these mixed emotions and emotions that you got all categorized and understood and this, that, and the other. And you know what it boils down to? You matter. You're a human being. God doesn't make anything less. He don't make mistakes. Not like that. He don't make mistakes. I saw a sign one time that said, I know I'm special because God doesn't make junk. You know, and then there, people say, God made me, He broke the mold. You imagine the two of me out there? But you know what? That's true. Why make another one when there's already a masterpiece made? You're one of a kind. And there is nothing wrong with that. So you got tattoos, you got piercings, you got big gauges in your ears, you wear your pants down to your knees. I wish you'd pull your pants up. That's my opinion. You know, you don't have name brand shoes. You might have holes in your shirt. You have no hair. You have too much hair. You have facial hair, but you're a female. You have no hair and you're a male. You know, you're short, you're tall, you're perfect size, you're not so perfect size. You drink with your pinky up. You have no pinky. It doesn't matter. You are still beautiful. Because you're you. And it is, I have been there more for other people in my life than I have ever been there for me. And I am taking that and I am sitting in my own audience. Because I need to hear me. I need to see me. I need to be me. Because there is nothing wrong with being me. I am not a bad person. I'm a good person. I'm smart. I'm funny. I can be funny looking. I can take my teeth out. I can make some really funny faces. I'm smart. I'm creative. I'm generous. I'm outgoing. I'm motivating. I can list all kinds of positive things, and I would not say them if I am not teaching myself to feel them. Because it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to hear it, it's another thing to believe it. But the main thing is to feel it. If you don't feel it, then it feels like it's just minute. People can tell you things your whole life and put you down. And as you're growing up over the years, it becomes a part of your identity. Because you have heard it so much. You have heard it just as much as the sky is blue. The grass is green. Up is up, down is down. Left, right, blue, yellow, red, orange, whatever you want to name. You have been taught that so much that all the things that you have been called and made to feel is second nature to you, just as much as that crown in that crown box that you have learned to color with. Because it has been taught to you and reinforced to you that much. It's just like people say the sky is blue. No. No, it's not. It can be blue. Sometimes it's black. Sometimes it's a dark blue. Sometimes it's scary looking. Sometimes it's beautiful. It's like a rainbow. Or it's got where the northern lights and stuff are all lit up and beautiful. Sometimes it's sparkly. And if you're colorblind, it's all kinds of different colors. Depends on what level of colorblindness you are. And what colors are dominant to you and what colors aren't. Or like to my mom. She's blind. The sky has no color to her. But she knows that it's there. She'll tell you it's blue. And my mom hasn't always been blind. She lost her sight in 2012. But it becomes second nature of your identity. And it gets to the point where it's so overlaying on you, overlapping your mentality, that pretty soon it becomes dominant in your identity. And when you look at that mirror and you look at your reflection, you don't even know who you're looking at. You're looking at something that somebody and everybody else has made you believe your reflection is. And I've talked about that in my podcast, Give Me Back My Mirror. Self-reflection. Take back your mirror. There is nothing wrong with your identity. I don't care if you have every single millimeter or micrometer of your body in toothpicks or popsicle sticks or piercings or tattoos or I don't know. Or you're as smooth as when you were born, without any imperfection and flaws. Although, in your eyes, you know every curve and every contour. I don't know anybody in this world that doesn't have some type of self-esteem issue or some type of self-reflection that does not make them self-conscious of themselves. But to an outsider, they don't see that. But then yet, on the other turn of it, me, for instance, we'll use me. I know I'm a good person. I help a lot of people. I do a lot for the homeless and a lot of people. I take and dedicate my life taking care of my mom. Her doctor wanted to make sure and have her reassure him that I had no life because I needed to take care of her 24/7. And my mom reassured him I had no life. Now, I do have a life. I take care of my mother. She is the one that gave me life. And it comes down to, no matter what she says, no matter what she does, no matter things that I don't need to talk about, it comes down to, she's my mom. She deserves dignity. She deserves to have a life, even if it's in a bed, engulfed in audiobooks. She deserves to be able to have her next breath. She deserves to have a meal. She deserves to have a clean bathroom. She deserves to have food in her stomach and being taken care of. She deserves conversation. She deserves to have her medication and taken to appointments and whatever. She deserves for me to pick on her and get on her nerves until she tells me to get out of her face that I'm getting on her nerves and I go off the other room laughing. She deserves all that. Well, she deserves that of me because she's my mom and she had me and I tell her it's her fault. She tells me I get it after my dad, but that's a whole different podcast. But she deserves to have a chance. Because if I didn't step in to take care of her, where would she be at today? Laying next to my dad? Scattered with his ashes? Me walking through an empty house of my parents and they're gone? I could not sit right with myself if I did not take care of my mom. If I would have put her in a home or just ignored the fact that she needed somebody to be there for her, to be codependent and trust her life with. If I would have just let that go, what kind of person would I be? And then knowingly sit in my mom's house, my parents' house, while my mom withers away at a nursing home or wherever, if she even made it that far. You know who I would be? I'd be a piece of shit in my eyes. And that's exactly the hat I would deserve to wear. Because my mom is blind. My mom is bedridden. My mom needs 24-hour care 7 days a week. And my mom says all the time, I can't take this anymore. I'd be better off if I was just get it over with. But then the next time, when something is making her feel bad, and her pain is excruciating, and her medication or whatever hasn't kicked in yet, or whatever the case may be, and she's not feeling right, don't leave me. I'm scared. You know how bad and how much it hurts for your mom to look at you and beg you to stay close? That she's scared? She's afraid that she's going to die? She doesn't want to be alone? And all the things that my mom says and does, she's a human being. I'm not going to abandon her. And believe me, we have our disagreements. But she's still my mom. And maybe that doesn't really coincide with what we're talking about, but it does. The only thing my mom has, with all due respect, her life, is in a bed, and an audiobook, in her mind, in her broken heart, in the empty side of her bed. Me trying to lift her up, to help her try to make it to the bathroom. her falling on the ground and taking everything I got to help pick her up. Listening to my mom crying, having night terrors and screaming out in the night. You don't need to be my heart breaks for my mom. It's so hard to see her. It's so hard to see my mom like that. And knowing that level of emotion that plays in her mind and in her heart. Her life is in a bed now because her life is not laying beside her anymore. Because it takes one moment to determine if there'll even be another. I had a best friend that killed herself. I talked about it in my last podcast. I had another friend of mine that tried to kill himself. His brother found him in time. My same best friend that killed herself, 10 years later, her son killed himself. He was 14. I saw on a feed on Facebook this young girl. She was being bullied at school. She was probably in her early teens, maybe 12, 13, I believe. She killed herself. She was being bullied. And maybe that just sounds like a word to somebody. Oh, kids being mean. Or, kids that are bullies grow up to be adults that are bullies. But at the same time, some people grow up to be bullies without realizing they're bullies. Because they stand up for themselves and they don't take nobody's shit no more because they were bullied. But to belittle somebody enough to make them feel that engulfed to kill themselves at such a tender, innocent, fragile age is more, there's just not even a word. I could not even imagine, nor do I want to, the pain her family and her parents are carrying. And does that bully even care? And if they do, is that going to weigh heavy on them? Suicide is real. The only thing in life that is real, I believe, is death. Is death. It is a finalization, a finale. They always say life's made up of 2 dates and a dash, and it's the dash that matters. I used to think that's true, but I don't believe that. It all matters. The day you were born mattered. You think it didn't matter to your parents? You didn't think it mattered to your family? You might not remember, or, I mean, you have to be really gifted, I believe, if you do. You think it didn't matter? The date of your death, you think it's not going to matter? You think people, and I say this all due respect, that there aren't going to be people that are going to mourn the loss of somebody when they die? Don't tell me those 2 dates don't matter. Those 2 dates are what define that dash. Because some people don't get a chance to have a dash. And I bet you anything that mattered to that family that lost that child. Because that's a human being. It doesn't need a heartbeat to be a human being. We grow every day. We heal every day. Some people don't give a person a chance to grow. They just automatically assume that just because they say so, that they're not human and they're not real, they're not a person, and they don't matter. Yeah, they do. It's a human being. And it might make some people mad with me, I don't know, I guess spitting off on that, but no, it all goes together. Why, in my opinion? Because it's life. It's life and death. Suicide is life and death. Living is life and death. The difference between your breath and your next breath is life and death. And people don't even get a chance for somebody to even have that chance to have a life, and they determine their death. If God wanted you to play God, He would hand you the ropes and say, here, I'm going on vacation for a while. You go ahead and take over. And maybe that sounds a little touchy. But you know what? I don't care. That's my opinion. I've lost a baby. I lost my grandson too. Every child is a gift. He has 3 little girls in this world because of him dying. And He gave them a gift of life. His dashes mattered. And so did his dates. And so do those girls, those little babies. And maybe that's different than being suicidal. But you know what? I know of parents that have killed themselves because they've lost their child. I know of children that have killed themselves because they've lost their parents. They've lost their spouse. They've lost their boyfriends, girlfriends. And there are some people out there that try to have kids and can't. There are people out there that are pregnant and actually get a chance to have a baby. And they end up having to go through the motions of losing it and grieving. And some can't handle the pain. Grief to me, is love with nowhere to go. It's an emotion feeling, a depth of beauty, if you will. It has nowhere to go. Because the person that you're grieving is not there to soak it up and receive it. And it has nowhere to go. You know, you got people out there that are self-medicating, self-inflictions, you know, self-harm. You got people that cut, people that pick, people that burn, people that do other things. I was a picker. I got scars up and down my arms to prove it. I'm surprised the rest of me didn't scar up. I would have a bruise from one shoulder across my chest to the other one. Just picking at my chest. Pinching it. Nothing but a big old bruise. All the way across. It got to the point it was so bad. And I didn't know how to, I couldn't help it. My anxiety would get bad and I just subconsciously would just start doing it. And leave yourself alone. Quit picking yourself. Leave your arms alone. I finally had to wrap my arms in ace bandages and gauze so they could heal. And there's times, and I'll say honestly, it hasn't been for a while. I think the last time I can recall was around Father's Day. I had picked my arms around Father's Day. Father's Day is really hard for me. It's the anniversary of my best friend's death and my dad being gone, of course. And subconsciously, I didn't even realize it, but I had to bandage my arm up a little bit. Put band-aids and stuff on it to help heal it. And I was just telling my counselor the week or two before that, I was very proud of myself. I hadn't hurt myself and my arms were healed. I showed him my arms and I was so proud of it. And next week I come in and I have band-aids and stuff on my arm. And I told him, you know, and it's just, I had nowhere to put that level of my emotion. It hovered on me. And it weighed very heavy. Father's Day is a very, very hard holiday for me. It breaks my heart to go to the stores and see Father's Day gifts or people talk about, you know, they went over to spend time with their dad for Father's Day, or I don't have that anymore. And I haven't even really had the chance to even grieve him yet. Not really. Because I push it away. Because I need to take care of my mom. And I told my counselor, I said, the day comes when my mom is gone. I literally prayed to God that He holds me tight, because it's going to be a full double whammy on me. Because when I have to sit in the house where my parents lived, heaven help me. Because the emotion I feel right now of being stable, per se, on my well-being of being a suicidal survivor, I can't always, it would be unrealistic of me to tell myself that that is an emotion that will never come back. Because the first thing I ever well, not the first thing, but one of the most important things I taught myself in this journey of my healing is to try to be the best I can to be honest with myself. If I can't be honest with myself, why not? Why can't I? I've been so used to apologizing for being me that I apologize to myself for being me. And that's wrong. And it needs to be to the point where I don't need a mirror to see me. Because everything I need to see is reflected in my emotions and what I feel. The mirror is just materialistic glare. And if light is reflecting on it, the sun's shining too bright, it could be delusional even more. Or to be blocked out where you can't even see it hardly because the light's glaring in it. Or other things are reflecting on it. So you don't really get a picture per se of your actual self. Plus, too, depends on what the mirror is made out of and how it's bent or shaped in the frame, or how it's hung, or what angle it's at. There's all kinds of factors in it. It depends on what the mirror looks like, whether it determines on what you look like in that mirror. And also, too, how bad your eyesight is. In all due respect. Because, you know, my mom is blind. I don't know the last time she looked in a mirror. My daughter and I comb her hair. Of course, we have to give her showers and stuff, too. She's very, you know, she relies and entrusts her well-being and her life literally in my hands. And I tell myself all the time now, if I would have died that day, my mom probably would not have been too far behind me. One, because she wouldn't have anybody take care of her. But two, she would not have been able to handle that additional emotion of losing her child. And I have never, nor will I ever, tell my mom that. Because she doesn't need that emotion on her. That would be unfair to put on her. And I am not that kind of person. I have owned what I've done. I have come to terms with myself. I have wrote myself an apology letter. I wrote myself a counter letter back to myself. I put my feelings somewhere. I forgave me. Because the part of me that was trying to survive was a part of me that didn't know how. It was trying to just be done with the pain. And that is the same person, the same part of me now that is in your ear. That is me.
And I am very proud of me. I am extremely, wholeheartedly proud of me. And if you are going through something, I pray for you wholeheartedly. But with me in your ear, please, with all that you can, know that there is a way to get your own breath without your breath getting you. Find ways on your better moments, if possible. Find coping mechanisms. Find an outlet, a positive outlet. Redivert your negative pain and your heartache and your emptiness. And fill it with good, positive things, positive places, positive comments. Make faces at yourself in the mirror. Laugh and giggle. Stick your tongue out. Make googly eyes. Talk to yourself in the mirror and give yourself a pep talk. Instead of looking in the mirror and crying to yourself and telling yourself all the way up at your face against the mirror on how worthless you are and people will be better off without you. Nobody's going to want you. You're a piece of shit. Whatever it is that you're feeling, counteract it with positive. Because you deserve to. And if you know somebody that's going through something, or somebody comes to you and entrusts you with literally their life and their mentality of their well-being, if you can't handle it, there's a right way and a wrong way to approach it. I don't have all the answers, but telling them to get over it, and it's their own emotion and it's stupid, is 100% not the way to go. Because somebody is coming to you and has chosen you to entrust their next breath with. Don't mock them. Don't make fun of them. Don't belittle them. Don't push them aside. If you don't know how to respond or answer them, be honest with them and say so. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And if you can't understand what it's like to be suicidal, then show them the way. If people were less judgmental in this world and more understanding and compassionate, this world would be wonderful. But the biggest... I said this once to my mom. I said, they say that the Bible tells you you're not supposed to judge. And I said, but you know what? We all judge. We judge ourselves every day. We are our biggest critics. We judge ourselves every day. Why? Because we're taught to? And what gives the right of those particular I don't want to say teachers because I have respect for teachers. Those assholes. There's a word. What gives the right to those assholes to make you feel that way? We talk about bullies all the time. The society is the biggest bullies that I've ever known. Because they tell us. And I don't even know who society's supposed to be because I'm part of society and I'm not in this group of this board meeting that they have. But they were so hell-bent on judging how to put your makeup on, how big you're supposed to be, how thin you're supposed to be. You're too tall, you're too short, your hair's too long. I don't like the way your eyes sit. Your teeth are too far apart. Your teeth are too straight. Your teeth are not wide enough. You don't have no teeth. Here, have my teeth. Who gives them the right to dictate my perfection of being me? I'm a masterpiece, and they do not have the right to bring their paintbrushes and their colors in to cover up my beauty so they can have their graffiti. Nor do they need to do it to you. And some people say, you know, the way people treat you is a reflection on how they look at themselves. I'm sure some people probably say that in a mean way. But if you really think about it, that really breaks my heart. Because it makes you wonder what kind of reflection they're looking at on themselves. And that's heartbreaking. Things can be negative if you want them to be. And if you don't give society and other people a chance, they'll teach you how to make it. We're so programmed to be mean to ourselves and each other. We're so programmed to segregate ourselves and think one person is more important than the other. No. We all were created. We all are human. We all bleed the same color. And the one thing we all have in common, without a doubt, more than anything in this world, we all have one thing in common. Death. I'd say life, but that's not true. Because that was a conversation we had just like, I don't know, a few minutes ago. Death. You know, I say sometimes that sometimes in life we need to step over our own shadows. Take the leap of faith and build your wings on the way down. But even if your wing is broken, doesn't mean you still can't soar. Doesn't mean you have to fly. Doesn't mean that you can't do it. I'm not saying jump and think you have wings, and don't drink Red Bull and think you have wings and you can fly. That's just a slogan thing. So I'm not by any means saying that. It's a metaphor. Point of it is sometimes we need to step over ourselves, over our pain, over our heartache, over our insecurities, over our traumas and our doubts and our self-esteem. But sometimes we need to step over because we're taking another step. Because the first step is always the hardest. But once you take that step, and you take another and another, you got that. You got this. Even if you have to put your toe in the water, per se, you're trying. And that is a miracle in itself. People will say, nothing short of a miracle would do this or that, the other, or whatever. Or I don't believe in miracles. Every single breath, half a breath, is the biggest, most beautiful miracle of creation ever. You need a miracle. You are one. And on that, I'm going to close out. And I'm sorry I didn't even get to this paper, but that's okay. Because evidently I needed this. And I hope that, if you do get a chance, obviously I'll go over this article thing later at a different time. But if you are going through something, 988 is suicide prevention hotline. Reach out if you can. There are so many people out there. I promise they do care about you. And maybe that doesn't seem like, oh yeah, that's what people say. And I respect that. I respect that emotion of you. But if I didn't care, I wouldn't be in your ear right now. So there's one. And if you're listening to this podcast right now, as I always say, that's the one thing in your life is your time. And you can't get that back. It's the most precious thing of your life and priceless is a time in your life. And if you have dedicated it listening to me, then I wholeheartedly, with everything I am, thank you. Because that is something in your life that is yours, that you can't get back, that you have chosen to share with me and my time with you. I don't need to see who's on the other end of this podcast to tell you you matter. Because it's just the fact that you do that matters. And I pray that this podcast has helped you in some way. And I am so sorry that you feel the way you feel. And this might sound corny, but for whatever it's worth, I am giving you the biggest virtual hug across these waves because it is real. And it is the biggest reality check that pays with the cost of your life. And there are no receipts and return policies. You're worth more than that. You're priceless. And you're beautiful. And you're a masterpiece. And you're a miracle. And don't let anybody belittle that. And when somebody does that to you, pray for them. They say something mean to you, just look at them and say, you know what? I'm sorry you feel that way. I'll pray for you. How they take it is on them. You can't control how they receive whatever you say. You only know how you mean it from your heart and your feelings. Prayers go a long way. And I'm just so blessed that some of the biggest prayers are when God tells you no. I'm not gonna take you and kill you. I'm not gonna let you kill yourself. He didn't answer my prayer. But yet he did. Because he showed me that I'm worth living for. Because I needed to believe in me instead of believing on what everybody has taught and programmed me to believe I was. And that's priceless to me. Because my 2 dates and dash they matter more to me than they do anybody else in this world. Because it defines me and my existence in this world. And I am a better person, and I am in a better place. And the world is a better place. Because I want to be in it. I want to be me. And on that, I'm going to close out. And I thank you again for giving me your time and sharing it with me. Again, 988 Suicide Prevention Helpline. There's a lot of resources out there, a lot of places you can reach out to, a lot of programs, a lot of medical assistance, and but most importantly, put it in God's hands too. People might say, oh, I don't believe in God. I don't pray. What would it hurt? What would it hurt to believe in something good? We're so programmed to feel so negative and bad. Why can't we feel and believe in something good? We teach our kids to believe in a fairy tale, imaginary fable of a jolly old man that rides a sleigh with reindeers and a bunny rabbit that hops around and a fairy that goes around and breaks into your house to get your teeth. And that's all okay and acceptable. But you can't believe in something that is a miracle just in itself. Even if you can't see it. But yet you can. Everywhere you look is a miracle of God. Starting with you. And on that, I'm going to close out. And I hope everybody has a safe and blessed evening. And my heart and prayers go out to each and every one of you. If you haven't checked out my other podcasts, please feel free to do so. I have a channel on Podbean and on YouTube at D Let Me Clear My Throat. Again, this is D, and you're listening to Let Me Clear My Throat. I hope you all have a great night. Good night.